we're going to start with the absolute basics. You may think, show me something interesting, I know the basics. You may think you know this stuff, but the human thing is we don't know what we don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't understand this stuff, this basic stuff properly, it's going to come up and bite you later. I can guarantee it. So we're going to do everything, we're going to build the foundation properly. Everything is based on, every sophisticated thing is based on these basics. So we set the foundations. And we're going to start with timing and spacing. Two entirely separate things, which often get smudged together. And I've heard great animators arguing about the timing when they're really talking about the spacing, or arguing about the spacing when they're really talking about the timing. So we're going to separate these two. I got my first big lesson from Grim Natwick, the great animator who animated half of The Princess in Snow White. So we'll find out what timing and spacing are, the difference between the two things, and we'll make it absolutely clear. Somebody put me on to Grim Natwick, who was then 90. And Grim made it to 100. And he had a big party in Hollywood. Of course, he never knew any, they never knew him because he was so old. And he was a wonderful raconteur. He designed Betty Boop, and he was in animation all the way from the very beginning through Snow White, and then he worked with me in the end, till he was 92 or something. And after his 100th birthday party with these 500 adoring animators in Hollywood, he rung up Chuck Jones, who he knew as a little boy. And he said, I'm not going to go for 200. So he was a very, very old guy. And he was an Olympic jumper, and he had these giant arms and great big shoulders, even when he was 90. So I must have met him, he was 89 or something. And I'll never forget it. It was in a Hollywood basement with kind of fir trees, and the twilight, the golden twilight's coming in the window, so half of it is in blue shadow and half's in the orange twilight, and these big spatula hands. And I was asking, tell me about animation, tell me what, if you could boil it down, what would you say it is? I mean, can you boil it down? And he says, well, animation, it's all in the timing and in the spacing. It's all in the timing and in the spacing. Strange. The Americans should have developed it. No, that was it. So if we use the horrible old bouncing ball example, well, first, we're going to have the ball hit here, 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 and here. So this is going to be boink, 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 boink. So it's going to go donk, 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 donk. Make that one closer. Boink. Okay, that is, let me do this in red. That is the timing. Okay, I mean, this is such an obvious old thing, but I don't think people, I certainly didn't, separate the two. When he says timing and spacing, I could never tell which was the spacing, which was the timing, which is which. The timing is the hits. Doink, 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 whatever. The spacing is the ball, if it squashes, whatever. It goes up here, and of course it's slowing in the middle of the arc. The spacing is more close together, and then it's down here, thunk, and okay. So this overlapping, it's overlapping up here, And of course, it's further apart there as it's going faster. So this is a soft ball, right? Doink, 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 doink. And that, of course, is the spacing. So when we're doing a complex character, such as me talking, and I'm going dump, dump, bump, the timing is the dump, dump, bump, right? The spacing is all the junk that's going on in between here. So I'll overdo it. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Is the clusters, are these things overlapping? Are they close together in here and then they're going far apart here? That's the spacing. So the most complex piece of action is just a combination of the timing and the spacing of it. Obviously, if the drawings are closer together, the ball will move slower. And when the drawings are further apart, the ball's moving faster. Here's a great way of showing the difference between timing and spacing. This coin takes 1 second to go across the screen. It's going across in even spacing. Now, let's take it across with uneven spacing. But it still goes across in 1 second. The same timing, but very different spacing. Now let's see them both together. And we see something very interesting. Although it doesn't look like it, they start at the same time and they end at the same time. Everybody here has a natural sense of timing, especially if you're athletic or if you're musical, because timing's built right into us. But the spacing for animation, we have to learn. And this is what we're going to achieve in this session. It takes a while, but you'll get it. This is the same bounce that we've seen before, a small hard ball. And here it is with its spacing positions. The spacing creates the feel of a small hard ball. Now here's a squashy cartoon one. And here it is with its spacing positions. Now this is a larger, slightly soft ball. And here it is with its spacing positions. Now this. We're just using a circle, but it's how we space those circles, how we cluster them that creates the illusion. In this case, a heavy bowling ball. Here's a light ping pong ball. We know it's light because of the timing and the spacing. This one weighs almost nothing at all. Now let's take out every other drawing, making it twice as fast. Let's try it with an object. The chart. There was a if we take Mickey Mouse or something, or Mouse today, they all look the same at the time, and he's moving from here to here with the head, okay? And the hand is up here, and it's going to go down into here. And say he's got a tail that's going from there, and it's going to go down into here. You know, we have these charts on the drawings, right? Telling you the spacing of the drawings. They're either here or here. Grimm would have he would do an arc. You'd think that would be an arc, but then he'd put a little chart on it. Say it's like this. You know, it's just slowing into that. And then you have a different one on the nose. Maybe it was like that. And then you have an even one on the tail. And you have these little charts on the drawings.
Everything doesn't happen at once. Our generic mouse is going to move the hand, the head, and the tail at different speeds. This is why they developed separate little charts. Different charts for different parts. The nose is going down uneven. The finger goes down, easing out and easing in, uneven. Say the tail goes down, even. Each part has different spacing, but it all takes place in the same amount of time. They put different charts for different parts, so that everything didn't happen at the same rate. This loosened things up.
So it isn't like a robot, you know. So you break everything up. Is that clear? Ken would always make me, I would always try to start drawing because that was what I felt most comfortable with. And he'd say, no, God damn it. He said, do the timing. And he would make me, I don't want to get on the exposure sheet yet. But if this is a classic Disney sheet, 4 seconds. Everybody knows what these things look like, computer guys. They're just 4 seconds on the page or 6 feet. And Ken would say, look, where does he hit the ground there? Mark it. There's your accent. And where's your next hit? Okay, here. Okay. And you got 2 little hits here and here. Okay. Now put another drawing here, get that hit. And I would have to do these important drawings, right? So he'd say, come on, Dick, no drawing. Get a stopwatch or a metronome and let's act it out. And he'd make me act it out, whatever it was. Da, 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 da. And he'd say, no, do it again. Da, 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 da. And I have to do it again and again and again till I had it clear in my mind what I wanted, and he had it clear in his mind. And he said, those are the hits. So he's doing the timing first. Then he's going to go in and animate it once he's got his keys, but we're coming to that. This is how the chart, how it got over to this part of the field. Everything will get clearer as we go.
I have one question. For those of us that aren't familiar with animating on paper, these 2 drawings are going to be on separate sheets of paper.
Yeah.
Then where do the charts end up? Where do the charts go up? I mean, you're drawing them on one plane.
On one page, either the first one or the last one.
Okay.
We would draw it on.
And you
Drawing
put the
one.
frame numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we of course would probably put in some more drawings before we handed it to some poor assistant.
Okay. I do want to.
Yeah, that's how I don't know how
Sure.
you guys do that.
Yeah. Well, we don't do it necessarily this way. Maybe we should.
This is the history of charts. But whether you're drawing this or creating this in the computer, the principle is the same. Different parts, move at different speeds.
I was lucky enough to know this guy, Dick Humer, which is odd. He was a Disney story member. His name was spelled like this. And he was one of the main first story guys on Snow White, and he and Joe Grant were the story people on Dumbo, and he was also co-storied Fantasia and everything. But he had been the top New York animator doing Mutt and Jeffs in sort of 19, I don't know, in the 20s. And Dick was a good draftsman, and he also did comic strips, I mean, rather good drawing and stuff. And he was the leading animator, and he'd do all the drawings. If he was doing drawing one, and he would just do drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And the head of the studio, Van Buren or whoever it was, said, "Gee, Dick, the work's wonderful, but we wish we could get more of it." And so Dick said, "Well, if you give me somebody else to put in here, to put in 2 and 4, put in these the in-between drawings, I'll put in the I'll get twice as much work done." So that was the invention. Dick invented the in-betweener. Said, because they used to just work kind of straight ahead, you know, just drawing things, and then he would just do every other drawing, and then some other or several people could just put in the in-between ones. If we have drawing 1 is our extreme, I'm calling this an extreme. Not a key. This is important. Okay? I'm doing, as we're doing here, the one in the middle, for purposes of this class, I would like to call the breakdown. We spell it this way. We just break down, wait a minute, break. And we underline it. And that's number 3. Okay? And number 2 and number 4 are just plain in-betweens. If you want to be intellectual about it, an extreme is wherever you get a change of direction. Or you could say when you start an action or end an action. Let's do it again, calling it number 9. We're doing drawing 1, an extreme, number 9, an extreme. The one in the middle is 5, the one in the mid, which would be the breakdown. One in there is 4, 6, and then you got 7, 8. Doesn't matter you put them above or below. 3. Okay. And this is what they call in the trade the slow. That's the slow out. We're slowing out of drawing 1, and we're slowing in to draw. We put the one in the middle, smack, important drawing, and then we're slowing in to drawing 9. I always get balled up with slowing out and slowing in. I think of them backwards and everything. The best way is the way the computer guys talk. You talk about easing in and easing out. It's much better, isn't it?
Ease out and ease in. We can show this with a pendulum. Here's the arc that the pendulum will swing in, and here's the breakdown or passing position. Add in-betweens. This is what it looks like when you don't have an ease in or an ease out. Now we add a slight ease in and ease out both ends. And it's more convincing. Now we'll add in 2 more positions. Gives us a nice result. But 4 more positions gives us an even better result. and we get a really nice ease in and ease out. Let's do it with a finger. We're easing out of drawing 1. Same thing, easing out of drawing 1 with more in-betweens. Now we're going to ease in to drawing 5, cushion in. Now we'll ease in with more in-betweens added. Now we're going to ease out of the first position and ease in to the second position. We'll add in-betweens and it'll be even clearer.
Ken Harris always, he thought terribly simply. And he would say, we're cushioning. This would be cushioning. And if somebody throws you a baseball and you catch it, he'd say, well, cushions. You just cushion. So you're slowing in or easing in. Boom. I've seen California animators do almost as bad as this. If this is a Panavision screen, Panavision paper, they will do this. That's drawing 1, and that's drawing 96. Let's make it 196. And they'll put a chart on this thing. And they go play tennis, And you say, Jesus, look terrible. The assistant's no good. The assistant's no good. Absolute rubbish, I gave it to him. I know my job. See?
Incidentally, most actions in life are on an arc. They follow arcs, unless you're doing something in a straight line, like a punch.
Arcs are beautiful to watch. Straight lines give power. A pendulum eases in and out and follows an arc. Not like this. How are we going to in between these positions? Do we join them up like this? Usually, we get something half-assed, something like this. Neither one thing nor another, because the in-betweener doesn't understand arcs. When we really wanted this. Just this lifting arm follows 3 arcs. The elbow, the wrist, and the tips of the fingers.
I got a job at UPA, and immediately after 2 or 3 weeks as head of trace and paint, they found I could animate. And then they said, well, you have to have an assistant. So they gave me quite a skilled artist. And Charlie was my assistant. And Charlie was good. He was a good guy. But Charlie didn't like. Charlie would do, I'll do it in color, just to make it clear. Charlie would do a nice little drawing right in the middle, between 1 and 3. And he'd get the hair just right. And he'd do a nice drawing in here. Just a little, whoops. Excuse me. But Charlie didn't like the way Leo Salkin, the head of the studio, had designed the eyeballs. See? Charlie liked eyeballs that were like this. So for about 30 seconds of material, when it came out, you had the eyes on the screen doing this. Everything else was going, hello there, and it was going all the time. So I started doing all the drawings myself and got Charlie to work with somebody else, and I didn't learn until many years later how to use an assistant, because I was terrified of this happening again. And we had it on the Rabbit because we were hiring people coming in off the street. There's drawing 1, this is drawing 5 of a coffee cup, which say is in the live action actor's hand. And the in-between, say the breakdown is a good drawing. The one in the middle would be like this because the guy didn't know anything about perspective. So of course you're going to get that on the screen. I mean, it was wild. Sometimes you'd even have them like that because they didn't know perspective. Well, you see it all the time on bad animation, isn't it? I mean, Milt, when he went to Disney early on, this would be 1934, I think he went, and he met the great Bill Teitler, and he said, how do you do, you know? And he said, I'm in the assistant pool, or the in-between pool or something. And Teitler says, oh yeah? How many scenes did you cock up lately? And that's how they were, these tough guys. So, wobble. So you could say the assistant work is really volume control, you know, just throwing that in. It's not, with the graphic stuff, it's not line quality, although that may be important on a commercial. It's where you put those lines to hold those volumes together. Assistant work is basically volume control. And so should the animator. We're controlling the volumes as this hand, Marvel Comics style, goes around like in a Spielberg movie, they go, to get you. Well, that can't be wobbling. That's got to be consistent as it turns. So you've got to be able to handle the volumes. Okay, there's, just incidentally, if an animator's doing this drawing, 1 is extreme, and he's going to number 4. If he's going to do position, he's going to put 2 in thirds, divisions 33 1/3% of the way towards there. He should not do that to the assistant. That's not fair. He should at least do drawing 1 and 2, say himself, and leave the assistant, or in between, to drop 1 in between those 2. It's not going to work leaving what they call thirds like that. Or he should draw 1 and 3, so the assistant can drop the 1 equal divisions in the middle. If the animator's lucky enough to have an assistant, he still does enough work to have ironclad control over the scene. This stuff may all seem very basic, but you will see how damned important it is when we start putting it all together in a sophisticated way. If we don't get this basic stuff right, we're going to build our house on a shaky foundation.
Let's review. We've shown the difference between timing and spacing. We've shown how the chart was born. We've shown about easing in and easing out. We've shown volume control and arcs. Now the next session we'll be building on this. We'll start a scene and we'll find out, what do you do first? Then what do you do? What do you do after that? Then what's the third? What's the fourth? What's the fifth thing that you do? We'll tackle the work method, the ideal work method, and how to organize our material.
Walks. Walks are about the hardest thing to do right. There's a hell of a lot going on in a walk. The key to walks is doing things in the right order. Start by deciding on a tempo. Then we do the contact positions where the foot is touching the ground but there's no weight on it yet. Let's take a normal walk. We should start by taking a look at a basic pattern of a normal walk. Always start with the contacts, where the foot contacts the ground and the leg is straight with no weight on it yet. We'll take one stride, one step. And we'll pull it apart for clarity. People just going somewhere mostly walk on 12s, march time, 12 positions per step. The passing position will be just slightly higher than the contacts. The down position, where we feel the weight, where the legs are bent, the pelvis and the head are down, is where we feel that weight. And the up position is the high. The push-off leg is straight and the pelvis and the head are at their highest. Now we add the in-betweens and we can see a wave pattern. This is all exaggerated here for clarity. Now we'll add the arms. The arms on the contact positions counter or oppose the legs. Here's the passing position. The arms are just in the middle of the swing. But in the down position, the arms are at their widest point in a normal walk. Add in the up position where the arms are just an in-between, and we have an exaggerated natural walk pattern. We should understand this pattern thoroughly because we're going to use it as we go. But we're also going to ignore it and use a different structure which will help us to invent. Here it is. We always start with the contacts. And here we'll make the passing position the up, and this makes the contacts act as the down. We put in the other in-between positions and this will still give us an acceptable feeling of weight. But we can put the passing position anywhere we want. As the down, leaning back, stepping high, pushed further down, change the arms on the contacts. Working this way, we can invent actions. We can go on forever.
I was getting in a car. I guess the car would be about here, and the street was here. So I'm getting in the car, and I saw a man walking from here to here. This is the top view, from here to here. From here to about here. And I said, that guy's gay. And I was running, and I said, what? How can, and I stopped, I pulled the car back in, and I said, how can I know that he's gay? I mean, I can't even see him. Now, and I know that our peripheral vision is so sharp, that's for protection in the jungle. Anyway, I didn't know any of this. I just saw this thing, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be this animator. How do I know this? So I got out of the car, ran up the road, and he'd gotten about a block down here by then. And this is what he's doing. So I'm walking along behind and copying him, right? So he's walking. No up and down. The head was level. Walking on a tightrope. Now, the reason that's slightly feminine is that women tend to protect themselves, isn't it? It's their protect. Well, you'll see them out like this if they're boxing or something, shopping. Anywhere where there's a crowded bunch of men ogling women, they go around like. So with the legs, they'll tend to protect the business. See? There's just a slight, I mean, it's slight, it's subtle, I mean, in a normal woman's walk, you know? So, but with a man, because of the equipment we're carrying, right? There's a tremendous amount of up. The passing position is up, right? Whereas on the gay walk or the women's walk, there's not much. In this case, there was none.
Women usually take short steps in a straight line, as opposed to Mr. Macho. But not always.
So the passing position becomes terribly important to tell us the quality of the walk, where we put that middle position. Is it up? Is it down? Is it sideways? Is it whatever? You get strange things like strange combinations of masculine and feminine, like the guy who's doing, John Wayne, who walks with his shoulders. He walks like a 1940s woman, like Barbara Stanwyck or something with the shoulder. He has very little up or down. You remember? You see that with John Wayne? Those shoulders. It's almost exactly the same as, come up and see me. You know how to whistle, don't you? Come up and see me sometime. He's doing the same thing with his shoulders. Where are the goddamned Indians? You know? It's very strange. And I think part of the appeal of John Wayne is he has the facial, those feminine, the eyes are almost feminine. And yet there's this big hunk of a guy. Anyway, so for walks, you're going to get all kinds of stuff. Like I was doing the Hollywood walk, the postman yesterday who's written the script. And it's, I mean, you see that all the time. Practically everybody in Hollywood. Hi there. That head is just, you can see all angles it must be. Look at all the angles of my marvelous face at once. So the walk is probably just a normal walk, but with this. Or you've seen this one, the actors. Hi there. You know, everything's back here. Not much up and down. And then a pregnant woman is walking way back, right? Or a fat man. If fat men walk like dancers, because they have so much meat in here that they have to spread the leg, and they have to sort of, Orson Welles, when he was able to walk, was like this. So the point is that the big fat person is going to obviously got to carry all this stuff. And normally in a walk, you know, you get the arm, this arm, the counter arm, the other arm counters, isn't it? I'm doing a normal walk. The arms counter the legs. Well, in San Francisco, we saw a woman walking around. She was huge, woman, and she to carry all this stuff, the arms and the legs couldn't counter each other. It was like she had invisible strings attached to her hands to hold all this stuff as it rocked from side to side. You know, going down the road like this. So, or, let me think. A drunk, I don't know if a drunk has a lot of up and down, but what a drunk is doing is all the time, I'm telling you, I'm not drunk. Watch the head. I am not drunk. I do not drink. Right? So everything's wobbling around in the bottom, and it's trying to hold steady at the top. Let me think of others. What have we got here in my list? A baby will just lurch, won't they? It's not like a drunk at all. Somebody said babies walk like drunks. They don't, because a baby is trying to go forward, you know, and stop from falling down. All the theorists say that walks are a process of falling over and catching yourself. And in a normal walk, you get a thing. there's a kind of that shape. It goes that shape, the foot.
The heel tends to follow this pattern. The heel is the lead part. The rest of the foot follows along.
When you turn on your walk analyzing ray in the road, it's astounding what you see. I mean, I never notice anything normally. But when I see one of these crazy walks, then I say, what is unusual about this? And you can look instantly for the passing position.
A while ago, I did a bit of filming in London, analyzing walks. Look at those legs, nice and far apart, and he rolls from side to side. His foot is hitting the ground every 12 frames. Amazing how many people are in march time. The woman with the cane is walking 1, 2, 3, every 20 frames about. Watch the dog walk. The dog is walking on 4s, I think. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. One leg is bad, so the one on the right is moving on maybe 6 frames. The one on the left, probably about 10. It's a limp.
When I was a kid, at the time you're pushing doorbells and running and stuff, this friend of mine, who comes back into the course later, he would run across the road and right into the traffic and stop all the traffic. And then I would come from the other. This is quite a large street, young street. I'm like, go across like this. And get to the other side and run like hell. Until we used to do this all the time until when I got caught. And the guy beat me senseless, so I never did it anymore. But that's a very interesting thing, I mean, to analyze, because you're going, look at the amount of up and down in there. You're going like this forward, like a sneak. Then on the passing position, the head is back, or it's actually here, isn't it? I can see if I can do it better. The passing position. So there's a hell of a lot of stuff going on. And obviously, if you break this stuff down, like on that film, in a normal walk, the passing position's here. If you throw it off, it walks like this. That's just by putting the passing position there. And Art Babbitt did an awful lot of walks where he was the first one to violate all the rules. He would put Goofy's foot over here between the passing position and the start position. You do that. I can't do it, of course. He would put the feet on backwards. Nobody ever noticed. I mean, it's amazing what you get away with. So, right, we now go to draw this stuff. The first thing in a walk is to set the tempo. If somebody walked on 4s, this would be, let me just pull it. This would be every fourth drawing, right? 1, let's mark it here. 1, X, 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 step, 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 step. 25. That's in a second. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions in a second. So that's not a walk. That's a run, right? And it's a run with 6. That's a cartoon run because I can't do it, I don't think. Certainly not with a heck of a run up. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5. I can't do it. I can't get my feet. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. It's not possible, hardly. So 4s, a cartoon run, I mean, maybe if you had a real runner and you had a hell of a run in, you might get him going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think it's possible. Then we'll have 6 frames. 6s. I'll write frames here, it's clearer, isn't it? That's a naturalistic run. Or you could say fast cartoon walk. If you want to be cartoony. So that would be every 6. Where are we here? Yeah, it's roughly. So every 6 frames, one of these is 5 frames or something, but you're going to get a fast run. So running into it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4 per second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I was running, that's a pretty fast run for a person, isn't it? Still. So it's a hell of a, that's a very, very fast. 8 frames is you could call it it's a normal run, let's say. Normal human run, which is obviously step. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I need a run in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so we're now in the realm of possibility. 12 frames equals a business-like walk. Brisk, normal walk. March time. And that's obviously every. So again, da dum, da 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 dum dum dum, da dum, da 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 dum dum dum. Going to the toilet, going down to the store. Going across the room to get a book even, if I'm purposeful. They had big battles about whether people walk on 12s. And of course the and Milt went out with a stopwatch, and this is 1933 when he went to the studio. He timed everybody, and everybody's going around on 12s. Came back to the studio and said everybody's going on 12s. They said, oh, no, they're not on 12s. And all these theories came out why they're not on 12s. He said they are on 12s. Go out and test it. Of course, nobody did, and they argued this thing. Well, the reason they're arguing is that 12s is hard to divide, right? If you've got an 8-frame walk, these lazy bastards can evenly divide.
A chart divided into 8s makes it easier to in between.
Whereas a 12-frame walk, you've got, it's like this.
A chart on 12s makes it hard to in between on 3rds.
That means if the animator has to do every drawing, he's got to think harder. And if he's going to give it to an assistant in the production line, they're going to dump the work on them. They're going to be putting in 3rds here.
Our logo characters have different personalities, but they're all walking on 12s. I wanted the duck to be silly, so I gave him the silly arm swing and the unexpected hops. The rabbit is on the mobile phone. People on the phone tend to glide, no up and down. But to get some sense of weight, I put up and down on his bottom half, belly, and the legs. He's supposed to be a Hollywood executive. The stick man enters like a deck chair, unfolding itself. Everything unfolds and gradually comes into the rhythm of 12s like the other creatures. Our 1920s-style rubber hose cat moves in circles and figure eights, but still walking on 12s. He's boneless until he stiffens, limb by limb, but he stays on 12s. This happy guy is two-dimensional, so all we have to work with are his feet. So we lift the knees up high to slam the feet down on the beat. The sausage dog stretches like an accordion. His back end is trying to escape from his front end. But he gets it together when he comes back in, and he's on the beat.
16 frames, that's a strolling walk. More leisurely. It's interesting the way people think. I used to think in seconds, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, or 1 Mississippi, 1 little monkey, 2 little monkeys, or 3 Mississippi, whatever. And when I met Milt and heard this thing about the 12 frames, and then I just cut it in half. So I now think in 12s. And he said he thought he always timed things thinking of 12s because everything was just a little, he said it's simple because it's to do with our heartbeat or something. And everything is just a little more than 12, or everything's just a little less than 12. Ken Harris, who was a footage meister, he thought, and he'd always take his pencil and point, do it like this. He would, 16s. That's it. There, doink, doink, doink. That's 1 foot. He always thought in footage. And so I found it's a better way to think of the 12s, because then if it's a little less, you go down to 8, it's a little less, or 10 or whatever. It's a real easy way to think. So we do here's the strolling walk, isn't it? 16, let me, if I can remember Ken. Da, da, strolling walk, going, coming from the washroom. Wondering what I'm going to do the rest of the day. "20 frames is tired. Elderly person or person. So 20 frames, 1,000, 12, so it's, you see that quite a lot in the shopping mall. And then, of course, we stop here at let's stop at 24 frames. Very slow step. So 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,001. This is, I'll be walking around like this at the end of the day. Here's the taxi here. Can we have a lift, Chris? 1,001, 1,002, okay?
I've worked with directors that they have the tempo kind of built into their head, and even looking at a storyboard, they get it down to a couple of frames for a 900 frame sequence, and they know the timing.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how you practice learning the tempo and internalizing a tempo so that your analysis is faster.
Yeah, I think we do think in tempo, and I think we're all naturally, you know, you're naturally built for this medium, you know, if you have a sense of rhythm. I can't dance. I mean, I always hid in the orchestra or something, but I could dance, I'm sure. You know, I've got to, and you just get, gee, when I first went to England, and I saw these guys animate, you know, and pretty the best of the English guys, and they were going deep deep bong bong zit zit clonk clonk brrr, clang, and I say, oh God, I'm an artist. I don't want to be like that. And about a year later, I'm going deep deep bong bong brrr, brrr, clang ding, you know, and you just get that way. But what they did in Hollywood, I remember I said to Art Babbitt once, I love the Tom and Jerry timing. I don't, you know, the boop, 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 boop. And he said, yeah, on eights. I said, what? And he said, yeah, Bill Hanna, everything's on eights. Everything's on eights? Yeah. He said, yeah, that's boring. Yeah. There, you got every 8 frames. He hits a bump, dum, beep, honk. Down here, you always hit wherever it is. You're hitting thud, clunk, clunk, clunk.
A chart on eights is easy to work with. It's evenly divisible.
And of course, everybody's going Flintstone or something. Hi there. Hi, Fred. How are you doing? Oh, okay. Over there. It's all ding, ding, bong. So Tom and Jerry goes, beep, boom, ding, bong, all on eights. I mentioned it once to Chuck Jones. I said, how do you time on stuff? I mean, he's my most wonderful timer, isn't it? I mean, him and Tex Avery are it. Well, Fritz Freeling's great, you know, for these shorts. Anyway, he said, oh, we had 12 sheets and 16 sheets. I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, well, we'd have these, this would be let's have a 16 sheet. We'd have a red line go across every foot. And that was our 16 sheet. And we'd put our accents, thump, bump, clump. They'll just hit or halfway between, if I'm hitting an offbeat. I would put everything on these 12, I would think on 16s. And he said, then the thing had a musical, they put the music on after, so it had an inherent musical beat. So they'd say, this Roadrunner cartoon's on 16s. And then he said, and then we had 12 sheets where we, it'd be the same thing on 12s. You have I think they had blue line or green line, or a different color from the 16s. You just run the line. So same thing, you're gonna go thump, bang, clomp, and then it's on 12s, march time. So you got the whole commercial. He said then the musician doesn't have to hit it there, but he can, with his click track, he can hit it where he wants. See, so it makes it easy for him. That's dum da dum da dum, you know. That. So we're gonna build a walk. And it's, although walks are probably the hardest things, well, they are the hardest things to do. I mean, when beginner animators always want to animate a scene, a guy walks into a room and starts arguing with somebody, or go and never darken my door again, or running around the table, all kinds of stuff. And they get all tangled up and depressed, and it doesn't work and everything. Instead of just concentrating on walks, different kinds of walks. And of course, the great thing to do is with these stick figures, which I hope to not do a decent drawing in this whole course. And the reason is, this is a wonderful thing Babbitt showed us, is that if you just do stick figures, well, there's the hips, right? And there's the arm. Here's the other arm. We can even put joints in if need be. And you should please test these things. They'll work. You may need to retime things, blah, blah, blah. But the basic thing's going to work, and it'll work real fast.
We'll start again with our normal walk pattern. The passing position is just slightly higher. The down position will be slightly down, where we feel the weight, and the push-off is the up position, the highest point. Here it is. We get a wave pattern. Now we're going to use our invented walk method. Start with the same contact positions and add the passing position on an up. And it still gives us an acceptable feeling of weight. Now let's keep the same contact positions, but make the passing position the down. We get this. Now keep the same contact positions again, and let's be inventive with the passing position. Down and bent like a peanut. It works. This method opens the door for all kinds of invention. However, don't make cycles of head action in circles. It comes out like a pigeon. Same bird-like effect with a figure 8. So for safety, we tend to keep the head mass mostly straight up and down. But we should still be brave and try things. This method opens the door to all kinds of invention. It also helps us to plan, to keep our figures in proportion, and to plot them in depth. Here's a way to plan a walk in perspective. There's the horizon, and there's the vanishing point. We draw two lines, one along the top part of the post and the other along the bottom, both meeting at the vanishing point. Then we draw another line halfway in between. Now draw a line from the top of the first post, going through the center of the second post. Now we know where to put the third post. And all the rest. Now add in our figure, making all the right foot contacts. Then put in the left foot contacts. Then add in the passing positions. And all the rest.
But you see, you've got a structure then. I might, having done a thing like that, I might start to go straight ahead on top of it, of the whole thing. With these drawings under, Say, no, I want to loosen it up. I don't want it just to be like this. But I've got it all figured out. I know I'm not going to go wrong. It's going to come up in perspective correctly. It's going to work. I might start drawing here and say, might just take the head and do a performance with it. You know, it's talking. And I might do something weird with the hands, or take one hand. Or it's got the palsy, and start, you know. It's just getting these what do you call it, fence posts or clotheslines in, and then running on top, either using these drawings or starting again on variations. Takes the anxiety out. Right?
Let's dig into some details and variations.
Okay, we've already done this is a pretty prosaic piece of stuff, but we've already got something interesting, is that this, as the arm, you know, the arm is back, when the arm is back, the shoulder's back. I'll just write shoulders back. Back. And the hip joint is forward. Hip back. Shoulder forward. In a normal man's walk, the passing position is up, and the arm is going to be just in the middle, just a normal in between as it swings through, and the leg is going to be right in the middle. The foot's going to be down, and the other okay. If that was a 12-frame walk, and we're going from 1, and that would be 7, the passing position, and 13, right? Let's just draw it from the front. Right. It's going to be straight as it goes up. Now I've done something interesting here, which I didn't intend to do so early. On the front position, we see we've drawn this leg like this. We've taken a hammer and smashed the person's knee to a position it cannot go to. Wham! And Babbitt calls this breaking joints. And everybody does it. I don't know. I never talked to Milt about it, or Ken Harris didn't do it ever, I don't think. But I don't think they have a term for it other than arts. And they may not. They just say, well, you got to do this. You know, well, you got to do it. You got to do it. Well, you got to do it. And you say, well, it's a breaking joint. Well, that's intellectual. What we're doing is smashing the joint, bending it this way, and doing the same thing. Maybe the foot would do that. I'm not sure. If you draw, what's a good color? Let's draw a woman on it, a semi-realistic woman. You accept that, don't you? I mean, you tend to accept it. So my point is, we can start to get away with murder on passing positions and drawing. This is an extreme. And some people are actually built that way. But we can distort enormously without reverting to squash and stretch.
So we've built our basic walks, and we have a method on which to build our inventions. Now we come to the interesting stuff. Here's a tracing of a very inventive mime artist. Take a look at this strut. she lifts her back foot up fast and puts it down slow. The exact opposite of a normal walk. If a real person can do this, just think what we can do in animation. And that's what we're going to do in the next session when we look at flexibility in walks.